know Isaac Newton, I forgot, alchemist.
Yes,
Died
yeah,
of
he was an alchemist. That's
poisoning.
That's right.
Fucking rock star.
And I was like, yeah, UFOs, and like Marco Rubio, even the Secretary of State, like knows about it, and like
Society and the primitive nature of man.
Good afternoon. My name is John Luke. Welcome to Jared to Jared. On this week's episode, the Jareds will discuss the Age of Disclosure, Giordano Bruno, alien spirituality, the Legacy Program, and much, much more. They are here.
Is humanity going to matter when we realize we are clearly not the most, advanced species on our planet?
yeah, I mean, it might matter more, I mean, look at it this way. So one, we've already been losing our cultures for centuries now.
Right.
There were 350 Native American languages on the North American continent before European contact.
Right.
Now I think there's 3.
Sure.
Crazy.
Crazy.
And that's not just the language, it's the belief system, it's the culture, it's the everything that accompanied the language.
Right.
So one, we've already been in this process, and our humanness, we're kind of pushed up against a wall at the moment because we're getting AI, which is becoming seemingly more and more human.
Another alien
the uncanny
technology.
valley sort of thing. You can't quite tell, is it human or non-human? We're going to have non-human technology come in, or has, according to the Age of Disclosure, potentially has already been coming in.
Right.
So, okay, what is the human then, and what is the value of human culture? So I have 2 general responses to that. One is to use the historical metaphor of indigenous culture and then European contact, which at the time probably was pretty similar to how we would view aliens coming off the ship, because it was these giant ships. These dudes were using canoes because that's what they needed. They didn't need, big ass ships. And you see these giant ships across the ocean, and then just these dudes with beards and blonde hair, whatever, get off the ship. And it's just like, what is going on? Or it's possible that they actually knew more than we give them credit for, because like the Nordic guys there's evidence that they were coming to North America as early as like the 1100s. So actually they probably knew more than we realized, but at any rate, let's assume that, it was totally new. So that happens. And then that actually made their culture more important, because you couldn't just take it for granted anymore that like, oh, this is the monoculture or the only thing, or our way of life is just going to persist into eternity, and that's why to this day, indigenous culture practices being sustained. I mean, like I was friends with this Native American artist kid in Albuquerque, and we would have conversations, and he was telling me just about how like cultural preservation is just so huge and so important, because it's this great act of rebellion. Essentially, we're to like preserve what they tried to destroy 100% of. If it was up to the power structure, there would be none of it left. Then just practicing a tradition, practicing a culture, whether that's an art or a music or a dance or anything else, that in itself becomes this radical act of being human.
Right.
So I think it has the potential to actually bring us back, put us back in contact with what it is to be human.
Right. I like that.
Yeah.
I was kind of having that feeling too. Like there could be movies about this, starring Gerard Butler. Just like, we got to conserve what we are as human beings, Freaking, we can't just give up everything, That being said, so much would change. I'm thinking of like, I saw this really good historical show on the Hawaiian Islands, and when the Spanish came with their ships and all this, they actually fought them off a few times.
Yeah.
But they were saying to the Hawaiians that would go with them that they were like, you know, the white devil. They're like joining with the devil.
Oh, there were some Hawaiians who chose to like,
you know, they would go to the port of Spain, you know.
Really? Why? Just because were they taken prisoner, or they were like curious about?
Curious, yeah.
Weird.
Yeah,
wow.
crazy, huh? So there was like native Hawaiians living in like the port of Spain.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's probably the outcast too, though, right? I mean, because if you're like,
a lot of them were outcasts.
It had to have been. A lot of them were. The ones who were viewed as the
100%. Yeah. But they were was partly the reason why so many Europeans came to Hawaii, so they could get the like sugarcane farms and shit.
Right.
Like
so
that,
they fucked their people,
the environments, you know.
Yeah.
But all this being said, eventually the culture was merged. And a lot of the religious beliefs and shit had changed, you know, Christianity, all this shit, that shit. By God, Hawaii is America. You know, we're like so far from indigenous Hawaiian culture at this point, you know. And yes, sure, there's people that still try to reach out to it via food and, you know, some cultural traditions and all that. But by and large, things changed.
Yeah.
Same with, you know, our alien friends when they come. When we're finally, you know, disclosed as to what the freaking project, what legacy project knows, things will change. It can't just be Christianity anymore. It can't just be like Buddhism anymore. Like all these things are going to evolve into some crazy other things. I would imagine so.
Potentially, or I think it's possible that there'll actually be more compatibility than we might think is possible, depending on the angle you're looking at it from, right? Because if you're looking at it where your goal is
colonial perspective, it's an abject like change.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're trying to preserve the institution of the religion and doctrine as it is, then you're going to have a lot of challenges, you know. But if you're able to look at it and say, okay, well, how is Buddhism, just for example, how is Buddhism now shaped by this new experience, by this new culture? What can we learn? What can they teach us? Because alien spirituality and religion will be, that's what interests me. You know, I mean, that would be fascinating. And Ursula Le Guin talks about that in at least one of her books. Actually, no, definitely several of her books. She gets very imaginative with it, just like, what is alien spirituality? What are their practices? That's really weird.
I can't wait for the pod when you let us know how it is, you know. I'm too freaked out. I won't go. Yeah. It would be too weird. It'd be too crazy.
So interesting.
Out there, you know.
I mean, it would be a lot. It would be a lot.
Maybe.
I'd probably go. I think I would go. As long as it's safe and they're benevolent.
Right.
I would definitely be like, wow, I'm going to go study your stuff. This is so cool.
Can our brains even comprehend the situation? I think we're starting to via technology and all that stuff. But, you know, like the Neil deGrasse Tyson of chimps are 0.5%, you know, less intelligent than we are. Imagine a species that's 1% more intelligent than we are. Oh my God. You know, if you find out that you're aware that that's the case, which we were made aware of last night.
Right.
Unfortunately, I wish I didn't.
That's terrible.
Yeah. But once you're aware, so much stuff doesn't matter anymore. Like, I think if we could make the chimps aware that they're living in like a very like shrinking forest, you know, habitat, they're all pretty stupid compared to us.
Yeah.
And like, they don't know about internet and all kinds of shit like that. I think a lot of chimps would like, I don't know, you know, what would they do? Right. Does chimpness even matter at that point anymore? You know, is it like, well, I guess we should go like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like so much stuff would change. Like,
see, I
would
wonder,
chimps become depressed and like want to like off themselves, or would it, you know what I mean?
This is
same with us. Like, what are we going to do now?
Yeah. This is a similar question so I asked Mitra once.
Okay.
Just for listeners, it's a Zen teacher, had been meditating for freaking 50 years.
Right.
And I asked her once, I was like, in the Buddhist philosophy and practice, there's a breakthrough point at which you let go of all the societal conditioning, and then you're more free to be who you most authentically are. Put simply, that's what the practice is. That's what's going on.
Right.
Therapy too, and psychological healing therapy. That's part of the goal, is to just shed all these maladaptive behavior patterns that we got from the society, your family, or whatever, in order to just live more in alignment with who we truly are, instead of trying to always contort ourselves into what we think the society wants or other people want or all of that.
Right.
So, and in Buddhism, that's called awakening, when you come in contact with that true self, quote unquote,
right,
that more authentic self. So I asked her, I was like, what do you think society would look like if awakening, quote unquote, were the norm? That 95% of people were living from their truest sense of self, their truest heart, rather than from the space of all the neurotic shit we get into in order to maintain who we think we are, or have some kind of image that we think is attractive or whatever. And she just pauses for a moment and she goes, well, it would be radically different and probably much healthier. And it's kind of a fun thought experiment to get into the details of that. Of just oh, interesting. I wonder what it would definitely be more peaceful. There'd be less war. There would be less violence. There would be more healthy communication. There would be more of a sense of unity and kinship, respect and honoring for other individuals and who they are and what they've experienced and other people's stories. But it's kind of a similar question. Like would the societal structures, money, all this stuff, government, would it maintain its same shape, or would it just completely collapse because we would see how fucked up all of it is, and then all of us would be on the same page to make it better?
Right.
So is that going to be the alien thing too? Will it be like this moment of awakening, essentially, where it's like, whoa, hold up. This is wild. We've been doing it completely wrong. And this complete shift in context, like it shrinks us, The
Reagan speech, right? My boy. Perhaps it's one global threat that will unite us, that's external to the human family. That will finally unite us.
Does it have to be a global threat?
Put away our weapons, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Instead of a threat, could it be a global awakening? Yeah. Why does it have to be a global threat?
Sure.
I think there's a quality of that. It's like when you realize when there's a common enemy, it does unify.
Well, let's say not threat in the terms of like Independence Day.
Yeah.
But perhaps a threat of our conscious, our understanding of the world, the commerce, our energy sources, our money, the things we worry about every single day, just like, our social interactions, all that stuff. And then I guess my one pushback on Mitra would be, in this situation, sure, we may get information that null and voids our current existence or way of life.
Mm-hmm.
But that's with an understanding of a new empirical order, which is the fucking aliens government and their social way of living and being.
Right.
And now we have to cope with the fact that we're not the most powerful. So we're in this weird situation where we're not top of the food chain anymore. And we really, really are empathetic creatures, no matter how stupid we are.
It's a complete epistemological shift. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. So we find out that there's creatures out there who could kill us on a global level, or, have been harvesting our souls, something like that, or can.
Yeah.
In general. Right. Now we have a whole new set of issues to start worrying about.
Yeah.
It's not like everything just goes away. The problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, okay, those went away, but now you have all this shit to deal with, right. Fucking the Galactic Empire.
Yeah. See, I'm kind of predisposed toward thinking they're mostly benevolent. I'm sure they're self-interested, but mostly benevolent because, at least according to the Age of Disclosure, they've been around at least since the 40s.
Right.
Or actually, let me alter that. The government programs that have been aware of these guys have been around since the 40s. Right. So that's 80 years. And how come they haven't invaded? Especially 80 years ago when the technology wasn't as strong as it is now.
100%.
Or the weaponry isn't as strong, right? It's like, why didn't they just, if they wanted to invade and enslave and steal our resources and do all that kind of stuff, they would have, no?
Well, yes. Yes. If it, the classic movie, if I was going to kill you, I'd have done it already.
Yeah.
Which they can. According to the documentary, our fastest plane, the Blackhawks.
Oh, this was insane.
Go 4,600 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Over 143 sightings of aircraft, unidentified aircraft, going 40,000 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Let that sink in.
Yeah.
30 listeners.
40,000 listeners.
miles per hour plus.
Yeah.
That it when you put, like you were saying last night, I like that your point there. When you put logos to it, logistics, like numbers, to what the Air Force, the Navy, the government has been observing through the toppest freaking radar, all this shit, right? You put numbers to it. 4,000 miles an hour, 40,000 miles an hour. Do the math. It's
insane.
Yeah, we're so inferior to these beings. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And that same Blackhawk, it takes to turn around. It would, at full speed, it would take a loop the size of South Dakota.
Yeah.
They're turning on a dime.
Right.
On a freaking dime, like they're in a Volkswagen.
Yeah.
In a space-time continuum bubble.
Yeah.
People may be turning this off, right? Just like, this is ridiculous. This is observable. This is happening. These are Harvard, Stanford professors.
Yeah.
This is happening. I don't,
Yeah. Well, that's the weird thing, because a really bizarre sensation after watching that movie. And a lot of it wasn't new information. A lot of it was like, because I've been scrolling through these internet pages,
guys.
Yeah, just like,
they've been around for a while.
Yeah.
David Grush.
Yeah, they've been around. So for people who've like looked it up before, it's like, okay, this is just a really solid collection of the information that's already been there. Some of it was new though. I mean, like you said, the numbers that were actually placed on it, 40,000 miles per hour.
Right.
Or here's how they think some of the science and technology works. That was like, holy shit, that was stunning,
Right.
But generally it wasn't super new information, but it definitely gave me this feeling of the Cassandra complex. Greek mythology, Cassandra is the one who knows what's going on. She knows the truth. Nice. She's the prophet, and she's always accurate every single time, right? And there's this other country invading, and she runs around. She can pick up on it, the prophet, and she goes up to her father, the king, and she goes, "They're going to invade. We need to do something now." Right? And everyone's like, "Yeah, right, dude. You're fucking crazy, Cassandra. Go smoke another joint, dude. Get out of here."
Right.
And then sure enough, they get fucking massacred, and Cassandra's taken prisoner and all of this. And Cassandra is the prophetess who is never believed. And that is her karmic struggle, right? That is her prison in this lifetime, essentially. So watching that film, it like gives that weird sensation of like, I've seen something and no one understands,
Right.
And I had some of that today at work, just like, brought it up to a few people, just like, yeah, watch this documentary, it's wild, you know? And they're just like, oh, cool, yeah, whatever, you know. Anyway, you think you're like shopping fast enough, you know, getting the job done for Jeff. Right. And I was just like, there's you fucking UFOs. Like, what do you mean?
Just
what's
like,
my...
Are you listening to me? Everybody's got to run.
Yeah.
Go home.
Go home. And it's weird, you know, it's a weird sensation because like I am fully convinced that this shit's real.
It's because we're apes. We can't be made aware. It's like, I just told you there's freaking aircraft going 40 fucking miles an hour, man. Yeah. And you don't like,
cool. Blink an eye, just like, cool, man. That's right. All right.
Right on,
go
man.
scroll through TikTok later.
You're fucking crazy, bro.
Yeah, so like
watching Italian brain rot, you know, that was made by the aliens, probably.
So yeah, that was made by the aliens. So it's really wild. And
to get back to your point, though, I think one last point that you had. That's one thing that gives me peace is I do think that they're not trying to harm us per se. Perhaps they're taking some sort of resource. Well, I don't really know what that is, but they're curious. They're interested.
They seem curious.
Just like we're curious and have David Attenborough shows about, you know, chimps and monks and, you know, animals and dolphins and shit like that, you know.
Right.
We're curious. That's what I think it is. It's David Attenborough, fucking Rick Steves over here, like filming a documentary, you know. The humans now are building a civilization.
Could be.
You know.
Man, and there's so many ways to cut this too, because like I was just thinking, okay, abduction stories. I want to get into that. I mentioned a book to you earlier that's just this whole collection of abduction stories reviewed by this Harvard psychiatrist. Fucking crazy. So abduction stories, whales and dolphins. If the UFOs are beneath the water.
Right.
Which is a very convincing argument.
Yes.
We haven't explored 80% of the ocean. We have no idea what's down there. We know the moon surface better than we know the ocean.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Which is also an interesting metaphor for the subconscious. But
Mars too.
Yeah, Mars too. We know Mars better than the fucking ocean.
And to say that there's not an intelligent species that has been able to withstand the pressure.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So do the dolphins know?
Right.
Do the whales know?
Right.
Are these guys communicating with dolphins and whales who in a lot of ways probably have much more wisdom than human beings do because they're the stewards of the oceans and the oceans are in better shape than the land right now.
Think about it. They just found a Greenland shark that they think was born in the 1860s.
Oh, Christ. Yeah.
It's alive. The guy's chilling. Fucking, he looked like he had cataracts, but you know,
he's hanging
he's
out.
a fucking 1,000 years old, you know, a few hundred years old. That's insane, you know.
It's crazy.
He
was around when the Civil War was going on.
Atlantis, you know, deep down in the oceans. Who the hell knows? We don't even know. We don't even know our own planet.
Yeah.
However, I still think that is a way for us to like make it, for us to claim ownership over what's happening. In my estimation, there's trillions of planets out there. Yeah. And to say that there's not a species that is smarter than us and knows how to like bend space-time continuum, whatever the hell. Right. That's arrogant. You know, and they're here. You know?
Yeah. They're here. So I want to know, or what I find so curious and fascinating about it is just the extra part of extraterrestrial, you know, just these like outer experiences.
Right.
You know, I think that's why I'm into art, spirituality, all these things, because okay, abduction stories, that is an experience that goes beyond conception. Right. Aliens talking to dolphins and whales goes beyond what we think we can understand. Psychedelic experiences or just intense spiritual experiences through meditation or anything else. It's all about going beyond what you thought was possible. Right. Into these other realms, so to speak. Into these other extra experiences, extra as an outer, you know, extraterrestrial, extra human experiences.
Sure.
So there's something just deeply, deeply fascinating. I think that's why people like true crime and serial killer stories too, because there's something outer, there's something extra that you can't project your mind into that kind of psychology, that of a serial killer, because it's fucking devastatingly insane. So it's like there's this weird curiosity to all these things.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's why psychedelic people in the 80s and 90s were the ones who were all obsessed with UFOs.
Right.
You know?
Well, and then there could be connections there.
Yeah.
You know, and to say, going back to the timeline, they've been around since like recorded sort of government history.
Yeah.
1940s, you know, when we started getting radar, all this stuff, you know, mass communication. But they've actually been around for thousands of years.
Right.
And they said the Vatican knows, they've known forever, you know, and they were the power structure.
Yeah.
You know, 500-600 years ago. Of course they were, you know, they would have.
That was fucking weird too. When they're like, the Vatican knows, that was so weird.
It makes so much sense though. Of course
I was pissed that they just said that and dropped it. I was like, you can't just say the Vatican has documents about UAPs and then just move on to the next topic. Like, are you fucking kidding me? I was actually pissed. I was like, you can't just introduce that topic and then just let it go.
Sure.
Like, what?
It would make sense though. It's in the Vatican libraries, you know, they're fucking super secret. They were the heads of the government in Europe and America.
They were the global power structure for centuries.
Exactly. Yeah, of course they would know.
Yeah, if anyone knew, it would be them, right?
And then to say that even events in the Bible, like, you know, Enoch,
demons, exorcisms,
Moses, demons, all this stuff.
Yeah,
these could all be accounted for by sightings and in fucked up interactions.
Yeah,
with the smarter species.
Yeah,
throughout history, you know, and they may have pushed the boundary more, you know, at times throughout human history a little bit more. The pyramids. Yeah. You know, religious moments, crazy events, you know, demonic shit. So maybe one of these aliens went fucking crazy and, you know, started fucking with us. Maybe like the Nephilim monsters. Maybe they were actually aliens, came and started impregnating, you know.
Who knows? And then you look at
absolutely wild to think it, but it makes so much sense that this could be the explanation.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. And you look at the world mythologies. You know, you look at the story of Prometheus, right? He was the Titan who came down and gave fire to human beings, right? And that fire is symbolic. It wasn't just literal fire. It was the fire of consciousness, fire of subjective awareness, right? That is the birth of human consciousness. Is that fire. And one that there were ancient people sitting around saying, where did consciousness come from? Well, that's a good question, you know. And then they had this story. Well, he came down and gave us fire, and okay, and even that word fire comes, you know, just And then this god gets punished by all the other ones because they're pissed because now you gave our slaves power.
Right.
For the first time, you gave them self-awareness. And to this day, Jeff Bezos, does he want any of his 400,000 laborers in the US to be aware? No, of course not.
Right.
You know? So these stories track, but you can look at that too and say like, okay, well, wait, the Nephilim and the Anunnaki and all the Y-Files stuff, is that also the story of Prometheus?
Right.
Yeah, it was AJ with the Y-Files, you know, the sitting there on the steps at the Temple of Delphi, you know, telling this story, just like tapping into some sort of alien consciousness kind of thing, you know, maybe.
Right.
It wasn't just myth. It was like, this was like an actual history.
Right. Even like, you know, Book of Enoch, Muhammad too, you know, actually abduction stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going to this sort of alien realm, heaven place, meeting a godlike figure.
Yeah.
And then being sent back home, you know, and being able to prophesy on this crazy intergalactic, interstellar journey that they experienced, you know. So crazy.
Yeah. See, now my question is, and I came across, I was just like looking at the internet last night, wondering about Age of Disclosure. All these people online are just like, yeah, it's pretty basic information. If you want to get real deep into it, check these books out, right? So I looked up some of these books. There's one called, God, I got to double check, but it was like the law of life or the one law, right? And the one law, there's this woman in the 80s who, similar to our man Bashar, Daryl Anka channeling Bashar, this woman in the 80s claimed to be channeling Ra, right? Okay. The Egyptian god who is in fact, according to her, actually an alien, right? And Ra is speaking through her, and she and some dude, they're like recording these conversations, just hours and hours and hours of recordings, and they turn them into a book. And it's so long. There's just so much. And then this dude Ra was essentially saying unity, the one mind, the single consciousness of the universe, of which we are just all speaking parts of it.
Right.
And then the goal is to come back into that one mind, which is God, and just like really, it's really religious kind of stuff. And it was like, who knows? I don't know if that woman's fucking crazy or what. But the information was pretty good. And that's true with Daryl Anka and Bashar too. Sometimes that dude has like weird as shit, but he's got some good information.
I mean, even the Buddha, right? Going to a place, finding Nirvana. Nirvana is clearly like an other fourth dimensional space.
Could have been.
That traveled to.
Could have been.
Or was abducted. Who knows? Cured of all ailments and, spoken to. I don't like unification, that idea though, because I watch too much Star Trek. And the Borg are all about unification, one mind, one collective, and they find peace in it and comfort, and they don't understand why people don't want to be assimilated.
Right, it's a conformist thing.
And Geordi gets all pissed in this episode. He's like, because I'm an individual and I have a choice, and to lose that choice and individuality would be worse than death.
Interesting.
So if that's the way these cosmic people run their civilization, well, we would be pretty interesting to them. As an individualistic society. Right. They would want to study us. They'd be like, why do these primates choose on their own?
Right.
And find so much pride and like joy in it too. They're one of the only creatures in the universe that lives on an individualistic basis.
Right. Well, hey, and there's the trope in different mythologies that the gods, the angels, are actually envious of human beings.
Right.
Because of our mortality, because of our free will, because of all these different qualities. So who knows? I mean, maybe the aliens are also interested in us because it's just a different experience than theirs.
Right.
And they're saying, we have all this incredible technology and this higher sense of beingness and spirit and God and all this stuff. But then they look at us and they're just like, interesting.
Right.
What are those guys doing?
Yeah. Right. Which brings beauty to our existence. We've talked about that too, But okay, so back to the age of discretion. I want to touch on another couple points. Disclosure, damn it. I keep thinking discretion because that's what's been happening. They've been covering this shit up from us for so long, right. And maybe we shouldn't be talking about it. But those probes, like, I find
the
it
probes got you.
I find it insane that a lot of these generals, Air Force dudes, everything, and people that work for ATIP and the Legacy Project, they were visited after like researching aliens and shit by probes, by these like, essentially like circular freaking robot machines or whatever.
Yeah.
And they cause severe physical harm to them.
Yeah.
So much so that one of these individuals' kid almost died from one of these probes visiting their house.
Yeah.
Like rear general in the Navy.
Yeah.
And so much so, people getting injured coming into contact with these UFOs.
Right.
That they were sending these soldiers to a doctor at Stanford.
Right.
some chemist or whatever.
No, he's a medical doctor. Yeah, he's just an extremely skilled medical doctor. Yeah.
Help them with their burns and their like internal scarring and shit. Like, what?
Yeah.
The fuck?
Yeah, and that dude is interviewed, and it's just like he's just like it's insane. He's like, I have no idea, you know?
Right. Yeah. What do we do with that information?
Totally.
You know what I mean? It's just I think it's a lot to take. I mean, thankfully we're Jared, you know, so it only took one night to kind of process.
Yeah, I'm feeling better about it, talking about it now.
But I think it's going to be a lot for the rest of the world.
Totally, because for you and I, and we're both like, you know, English literature students into like philosophy, mythology, art, different experiences of all kinds. We're pretty adventurous guys, you know. Right. A lot of people are, you know, but then there's a lot of people who aren't at all.
Yes.
And if that freaked you and I out, which it definitely did. What's
I
it
literally
gonna do,
have a doctor
you know?
in philosophy, PhD.
Yeah.
Philosophy doctor.
Right.
And it freaked me out.
And it was like, so you've come across some like pretty dense ideas, you know.
And
like,
you're now studying human psychology.
Yeah.
And he freaked you out.
And and I was like, holy shit.
Like, I think I honestly get emotional about it. Just like, they don't want to talk about it. Like, I think the best scapegoat is to be like, those are demons.
Yeah.
Don't talk about it. Like, let's move on with our lives, you know.
I'm going to look something up here because the 40s, I'm really interested in the 40s right now because a lot went on in the 40s. Obviously, World War II, right?
Sure.
But I'm going to look up year the nuclear bomb was developed.
Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Who was also sort of alien-esque.
Dude is such an alien.
Insane.
Okay, I guess I know 1945 because that's when they dropped it, but they had been working on it
right
before then, of course. Okay, so let's say 1945, and then okay, never mind. And then I looked up. Oh, weird. Okay, so psychedelic effects of LSD first discovered 1943.
Oh.
You know? And I heard someone say once that it was the same year. So I'm not going to do it right now, but I got to look into the atomic bomb thing because I think like the very first.
A little bit before the research at least started.
Yeah, they didn't in 1 year develop the bomb and then drop it, you know? So I think something happened in 43 where maybe it was like the very first test of the atom bomb or something like that.
Sure.
Was 1940, something like that. But either way, LSD first synthesized and its psychedelic effects recognized in 1943. Let's say atom bomb. I gotta double check this, but you know, just for the sake of the argument right now, atom bomb also developed for the first time around 1943.
Right.
You have the legacy program and you have the legacy program identifying UFOs and people in government identifying UFOs for the very first time in the 1940s. What is going on?
Right.
You know?
Right. The Industrial Revolution too, just insane, like, and no telling what other developments, right?
The Dead Sea Scrolls, which are, you know, that's all the like lost chapters of the Bible and all that sort of shit, just ancient Christ writings. Dead Sea Scrolls discovered in 1947.
Wow.
What the fuck was going on in the 40s, right?
Yeah. Maybe Hitler was like a crazy alien, you know?
Who knows?
But okay, what's crazy too, age of disclosure, is there was, you know, 30, 40, 50 freaking sightings at Air Force bases.
Yeah.
Where a circular, like spherical craft and a big gigantic red square craft.
Yeah.
And all of them hovering over our nuclear bombs.
Right. Turning the nuclear operators on and off like a light switch. This
isn't like, you know, Bill, the creepy dude at the magic store telling us this story.
Yeah.
This is commanders at Air Force bases
Yeah.
showing the written documents from Boeing engineers
Right.
saying that they need to look into these aircraft that are posing a danger. They're floating over our nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
All over the country.
Yeah.
In one instance, they turned them on and they turned them off. But when they turned them on, they all pointed to America.
Yeah.
For the Russian ones, and ours pointed to them.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, what in the heck is going on?
You know, I'm just going to say, because it came to, I'm channeling right now.
For sure.
I wonder if, I'm going to assume that they're benevolent just for this argument, right?
Okay.
Why would a benevolent higher intelligence point the American nukes and the Russian nukes at one another?
Right.
If not to say, like like Shakespeare, like holding up a mirror to ourselves. Like, this is what you guys are actually doing.
Right.
You know, like you're playing with your toys, you're playing with your nukes, you're stockpiling nukes, but this is what you're actually doing.
Right.
Is pointing world destructive machinery at one another.
That you can't stop.
And that you can't stop, and you don't realize
Right.
that is what you were doing. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Right?
And it's also a show of force, as God did many of times.
Yeah.
You know, just like we'll just turn them on each other, without you guys doing a damn thing about it. You know? So, and it's crazy too. They talk about like the Air Force scrambling jets to intercept a lot of these craft, and you can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, so like if there was some sort of war or something like that, it would be no competition at all. You know? But if you get an intelligent species that's trying to better our species,
right?
Well, you know, you have to sort of, it would only make sense to get their most destructive weapons and sort of, you know, play this sort of psychological game where you're like, okay, you guys are getting crazy, like little kids, right?
Yeah.
Just like, I'm going to take this freaking crazy rubber band toy away from you because, you know,
right. Yeah.
Like you're going to hurt yourselves, you know?
What do you think about this? So I wonder, for other cultures and other societies, the thought of non-human intelligence wouldn't feel so threatening or novel. I'm thinking of, let's say, ancient societies or some societies still today.
Nice.
Right. Yeah. Who did believe, like we talk about mythology before ancient peoples, it wasn't myth, it was day-to-day life.
Right.
You know, I mean, these guys were going to the oracles and preaching to we're talking with the goddesses and the gods and going out into the forest, or even just in more like animistic, not even like, you know, oh, the God, like I'm talking to God right now, but they would go out into the forest and it was like, yeah, the tree spirits and the water spirits are here. So the world was populated by non-human intelligence. Right. That was something that was just interwoven in probably most societies in a mundane kind of way.
Sure.
And then, you know, so who knows, the evidence that they were in fact be visited by aliens or whatever else, who knows? But just the fact that non-human intelligence was sort of a given for these different cultures. For our culture, it took it like we're just coming into the realization that there are animals that are more conscious than we realized.
Right.
You know, because for so long we were so hung up on like this human domination thing. So is it particularly shocking for us because of our cultural context, where in fact maybe it's actually not that shocking in and of itself?
Sure.
What do you think?
You're making me think of the Roswell crash. They talk about this in the film too. Not only were there 2 biological species removed from that crash site, and it absolutely did happen. There was no weather balloon.
Yeah.
In the CIA documents, all that shit proven it was definitely a fucking site.
Yeah.
There were like hieroglyphs scratched
I
into
love
the
that.
fucking
I
vessel.
loved that so much. That was so
sick.
cool. Yeah.
And growing up in New Mexico, going to Bandelier, Chaco Canyon,
Totally. Yeah.
all the hieroglyphs, they have aliens. There's aliens with antennas.
That's what it looks like. Yeah.
And they, you know, like that's.
Yeah. And we've seen those in person.
Totally.
You know, we're not just like ancient aliens watching that dude with crazy hair.
Right.
History Channel. It's like, no, like we've seen them in person. And it's like, that shit looks a lot like an alien.
And yes, especially because there's humanoids that they clearly know how to draw.
Yeah.
Next to the hieroglyphics of dudes with antennas, you know, these crazy beings that are larger and, you know, human like, but you know, so to make the connection between the craft and the ancient society, right? Native societies, it'd be too easy if they both have hieroglyphics sharing information. So and weird. I'm thinking they may not want to contact our current iteration of humanity right now because we're so aggressive. We have such crazy nuclear weapons, power, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, if that's a problem now, it wasn't back then.
Right.
You know, there were periods of times where, you know, a lot of native tribes, countries, whatever, throughout the entire world, they were living a nomadic, peaceful society where absolutely aliens could have visited, talked to the elders, you know, like you said, a culture that's way more accepting of a non-human intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And have interacted and actually helped, you know, progress humanity.
Yeah.
You know, side note, it's insane to think that we progressed more in 80 years than we have in 2000 years.
Yeah. That's insane too. Yeah.
The transistor radio, like nobody knows who you know, where they got that technology.
Right.
It was a lie. The patents were a lie, all that shit.
So weird. So weird.
Fiber optic cables, you know, the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So bizarre.
But yes, to your question, I think it is a cultural thing. Yeah. I don't think that we're, especially a Christian nation, we're not accepting of a non-human, non-scripture based explanation of intelligence.
It's strange because you look at, I shared with you the story of Giordano Bruno. I think it was 1599. So this guy was a monk, Italy, and he was writing about how he believed every other star in the sky was potentially a sun surrounded by planets. So he was in the 1500s describing solar systems and saying that maybe those planets have life on them. Right. And at the time, I mean, this is still, I forget when we went from geocentric to heliocentric, but it was somewhere around that time. So at the very best, people thought that the sun was the center of the entire universe.
Right.
That was the cosmology. Right. And if not at the time, still thinking that the world was the center of the universe. So then this guy goes, no, there's actually trillions of suns, quadrillions of planets, and life. And it's just like, what the fuck? Was he just like an incredibly creative individual? Like, where was he getting that? Because in his time period, that just was so out there.
Right.
The church got a hold of his writings and burned him alive. And the reason they burned him alive was because if there was in fact other planets and life on other planets, you would have to then account for Jesus's presence or lack of presence on those planets, right? Which completely fucked with their doctrine, because then it was like there's only one true God and one true Christ, and he was on this earth at this specific period of time.
Right.
So we don't know how to integrate your theory of multiple planets and multiple suns. We don't know how to integrate that, and we'd rather just murder you, torture and murder you, than have to change our ideas around that.
Right.
Which is fucking crazy. So it's like that stubbornness has been around. Yeah.
There was a 27-person panel of heads of FBI, CIA, Senate leaders, all this stuff.
Yeah.
That were debating whether or not to kill that dude. What's his name?
Right.
The whistleblower Elizondo.
Yeah.
Literally burned this guy at the stake, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's so wild how many whistleblowers throughout history have randomly died.
Yeah.
or had to commit suicide when they're super happy, you know, otherwise, whatever, you know, we're the church. We can't accept it. And it's crazy that, you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene and a lot of these politicians are saying that these things are demons.
Yeah.
When we have engineer scientists telling us these are craft composed of, you know, whatever, getting picked up on a radar. Yeah. Like it's tangible as this fucking table. Yeah. You know, it's like, no, we got to be worried about this. We can't just like fall into superstition and fear. You know?
Yeah. And that's the wild thing. So it's like contrast that culture that killed Giordano Bruno, that's wants to accuse these whistleblowers, contrast those cultures with there's a story about this Native American chief during the 1800s. I forget the guy's name. He was in a Ken Burns documentary about the American West and the buffalo and all that. And this guy would chill in his teepee and do peyote and have visions of Christ, right? And he was really successful in his life, like even in the context of, you know, colonialism and stuff. And like I think he actually did buy a bunch of land and just build a huge house for him and his family, whatever. He did some cool stuff, some cool like governmental stuff, whatever. But anyway, he had this comment that that white people love talking about Jesus, but then he said he goes into his TP, takes peyote and has experience of Jesus. You know, he goes, there's an experiential knowledge.
Right.
Again, that actually coming in contact with non-human intelligence via peyote for him, you know, versus you guys talk about Jesus, I talk with Jesus. It's a different thing, you know, and then the talking about Jesus can't actually wrap its mind around like, well, what would it be to actually communicate with, you know? So similar to this, it's like, okay, you guys are comfortable talking about Christ consciousness, love, unity, forgiveness, all these things. But then when it actually comes down to integrating an actual non-human intelligence into your world experience of the world, you can't do it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I want to say that in response to that, even for the J to J, I was pretty afraid after the documentary and was like,
oh, I was totally afraid.
I don't want to know anymore. Like,
yeah, same. Yeah.
Legacy Project. Thank you for.
I thought I was going to
thank
throw
you
up
for the discrescency. Like, you guys are fighting the fine fight.
The legacy program saved us.
But all that being said, letting it sink in, and after you're saying about, you know, Giordani, and this has happened throughout history. You know, wasn't Isaac Newton murdered by the church?
No, I don't think Isaac was.
Maybe not Isaac, but there are lots of, you know, scholars, scientists throughout history that you know, I think we're ready to know.
Maybe.
Because they're not like killing us right now, you know, they could have already, they're not, you know, so what, we're getting studied.
Yeah.
So what, we found out we're not the center of the universe.
Hey, so what?
Hey, Jesus. So what, we realize the earth isn't flat, you know, and it's round, you know. You evolve, it's going to be, you know, so what, we found out that there is another species out there.
Yeah.
They are highly intelligent. Okay, cool. Let's go on with it. Let's grow. Okay. Let's find out about it. Then we can get a global effort of generations of humans knowing about these craft and studying it and spending their lives dreaming of visiting them and the stars and like getting to know their biology, you know, if there were biologic non-humans that they've discovered, you know.
Yeah.
Get us all in on it. And that's how a problem gets solved. That's how we get to learn and we get to move. You know, we wouldn't have freaking Neil deGrasse Tyson without learning about solar systems, without, you know, somebody getting burned at the stake to open this information up to the population, you know?
Yeah.
So I say, let's integrate, baby. Let's do it. You know, we may have some growing pains. We may have some, you know, existential crises, if you will.
Yeah.
but we survive. I think human culture, like you said, to begin with, it may be even more important in the new age of galacticism, where we have a fourth dimension. We have, the knowledge of the space-time continuum. We know that there's intelligent species out there. And I think the global awareness of said fact will grow us towards being able to meet them.
Well, yeah. And it's like there is this gradual blooming of human understanding, right? Because you look at least this is specific to Western culture or a Eurocentric view. But I mean, you did have a geocentric view of the universe. World is at the center of everything, which then became, wait a second, the sun is the center of everything, right? And then that shifted to, okay, well, maybe the galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy is the center of everything. Then that shifted because then it was like, oh, wait, no, there's like trillions of galaxies now. Oh, geez. And which became, okay, well, at least there's the universe, right? And then that shifted to the possibility of, wait, maybe there's a multiverse, right? So it just keeps expanding outward and outward and outward and outward.
Right.
And it's kind of like I like geocentric and egocentric, it's anagram. It's the same exact letters, right? So it's like there's also this sense of self, right?
Arrival.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's the egocentric, and when you look at that spiritual progression in legitimate spiritual practices, same thing. You start off as this very self-centered individual. I am the center of the universe. And then as you expand further and further out, that actually changes. And then you go, maybe you find a lover, and then you go, oh, wait, maybe she is the center of the universe too. And then maybe you have kids, and now you go, oh, wait, my kids are the center of the universe. I'm not, it wasn't me. And then most people get stuck there. Okay, well, my family unit now is the center of the universe. But if you keep pushing, you go, oh, wait, no. Like there's love there. Like who are those people over there? Like their family is just as real and important as mine. So I have to have compassion and love for them too. And then the society, now it's like, oh, the society. Right. And then, oh shit, the nation, whoa, there are no nations. Boundaries are social constructs. It's the world. Right. And you just keep expanding your capacity for love, for understanding, for compassion. You keep going beyond who you thought you were, Yeah. So we do that externally. The world is the center of the universe, eventually making our way to multiverses and the possibility of non-human intelligence from other planets. And you do it internally. And psychologically, I am the center of the world to, wait, it's about all of us. We're all in this together.
Right.
Yeah. So that just seems like this sort of natural unfolding progression.
Sure.
So maybe we are ready. Maybe this is the next step.
I think we are. I think so.
When we jumped from geocentric to heliocentric, people freaked out. They flipped out.
Right.
People were burned at the stake regularly.
Right.
Not just one person, a lot of people during that time.
And Bruno was the one I was thinking of. Side note, Isaac Newton, I forgot, alchemist.
Yes. He was an alchemist. That's right.
Fucking rock star. I love that guy.
Dude, so wild. Yeah.
Making a mercury cocktail in the mornings every day.
So awesome.
Guys. Oh my God. But yeah, exactly. It's the awareness, the progression of awareness.
Yeah.
And it happens in stages. And listen, I think big points of awareness, yes, fundamentally shut down some power structures. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Like we're not the center of the universe. Well, that's okay ultimately. And it killed a lot of power structures that relied on that.
Right.
But things like the church just evolved, it's just the way of things, Yeah. And with AI, with the aliens, all this stuff, we may have power structures that just simply die away, and that's okay.
They already are.
You know, and it's like, wow, what the oil industry, or people are going to find out Lockheed Martin was the ones who got the alien tech and all this. And it's like, oh, so what? So Lockheed Martin fucking fails at the stock market. Who the fucking cares?
Yeah.
Like, we need the awareness, you know, fuck oil. If there's some like non-propulsion engine that can save our environment and get us from point A to point B in 1 second,
that'd be so awesome.
Teleportation style.
Yeah.
Fuck Lockheed Martin. What the hell? Let it die. You know what I mean? Let that infrastructure die. And I think once we can come to the awareness of that, the age of fucking information is what it is. You know, we need to search. We need to discover.
Look, we're back on it.
Right.
We're back into revelation, disclosure. We got scared, but I feel like we're back.
I think we're back. I think we're back. I'm feeling okay with it. I don't think we're even visited by a probe. If we do, it's going to be a friendly one.
Good.
You know, because the J to J is going to be the ones for first contact.
Well, we're going to be doing the pod.
We're going to have Zorg and Zin on the pod for the whole world to listen.
Zorg and Zin. Zorg to Zin.
Zorg to Zin. Which begs the question,
Zorg to Zorg.
Have they, which of course, you know, Star Trek has hit a lot of these theories.
Yeah.
Star Trek Voyage Home, I think it's Star Trek 4. This alien craft comes to Earth and it's making these weird sounds. And they can't figure it out. And the weather patterns on Earth are changing. And it's like fucking up the planet. Everybody's like starting to die, like crazy weather events, you know?
Yeah.
And Spock and them, they realize that this alien probe has come back to Earth to communicate again with humpback whales. But in the future, they've gone extinct. So they don't know where they are. So the aliens are freaking out because they can't communicate with the whales anymore.
Oh, that's so sad.
So fucking Kirk and the crew, they go back in time.
Yeah.
Zip around the sun. So they can get some humpback whales and go back into the future, and they put them in the San Francisco harbor, and it saves the world. They like communicate with the aliens, and the craft leaves. You know,
so awesome,
so good.
So good.
And also like aliens among us, you know, higher intelligent species.
Well, that's the thing, and it's like, do they walk among us? Have they interbred with us?
Right.
You know, we know the Neanderthals have, and that's the thing too. I mean, we have had non-human intelligence on this planet before, very ancient, but the Neanderthals, I was watching on PBS this show about the origins of humanity. It was so good. And the host was so hot. I had such a crush on her. She was so awesome.
Yeah.
But anyway,
the hot senator in the documentary. Yes.
So funny. But anyway, she's talking about Neanderthals. So it's, you know, we think of them as like just cave people, you know, just like brutish and all of this. And there's actually evidence that they too had a very rich culture, that they would actually adorn themselves with jewelry. You know, they had beads, they had feathers that they would turn into earrings and all this kind of stuff. Like, this stuff has been discovered, right?
Right.
So they weren't just these like cave dwellers wearing potato sacks or something. It's like they were actually wearing freaking colorful robes and like feathers hanging from their hair and
style.
like yeah. And that was the Neanderthals.
Right.
Were they also brutal? Yeah, they were. But so them and the human beings, and then the pygmy people, the like the hobbit sized fucking people, and then there was one other, I think, Homo erectus.
Sure.
So we've already done it. We've already had interspecies mixing and experience on this planet.
Sure. Yeah. We could do it again.
We could do it again.
Yeah. But it's crazy to think, did the humans wipe the others out? And if that's the case, there's something in our genetic code that does not like to be the dominant. Not the dominant species.
Yeah, they got into that, and I forgot exactly what it was, but it was a lot of different factors. It wasn't just that human beings are the apex predator. There was some of that, but a lot of it was actually environmental.
Right.
This was like post Ice Age, and the Neanderthals developed for the Ice Age.
Humans, multiple times we've gotten whittled down by the other races.
There were times where there was like 1,000 humans left on the Earth.
Exactly.
We got very close to extinction.
Right. Yeah. Just like tiny little village of humans, like, hobbits in the woods.
Yeah. Everyone knew each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I remember back then, that was crazy.
Dude, yeah. Imagine if there's just 1,000 people living in Santa Fe.
Right.
It'd be there'd be no
or
traffic.
in the whole world.
In the whole world.
And just
seriously.
like some other species was, ruling the world, and we had to like be careful with them and not get eaten by the gigantic bears and shit,
Yeah.
Get crunched by a huge sloth.
Yeah.
So we can survive, know. God, it just makes you put into perspective just so many things, so many things.
Yeah. I'm curious, just like lighter, and I'm just curious about the sociological side, because we were watching last night and I realized it's all men who are the whistleblowers, right?
Yeah.
All men at these hearings, like all men except for like that one hot senator, whoever she was.
Love her.
Like
AOC was there.
AOC was there. AOC also hot. God, and the J2J, man, we're so sexist, dude. We can't help it. It's
that's okay. We
just
celebrate.
Like it's all bros.
No, this is like a legit
sociological question. Like, I'm actually just curious.
Question.
Like, jokes aside, I'm also just curious. Like, what is that, dude? Like, how come it's such like, one, is it just like pre-existing power
and
structures?
In our own lives, like personally, we've tried bringing this up to like girls, they just, or women, they just like not interested.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
Or like get emotional about it and just like, it's not.
Like, I just want to share like my sister, because I told her we were watching it and she just laughed because her boyfriend's really into it.
Okay,
this dude Gino,
of course
right?
he is, yeah.
Gino like loves this stuff, gets a kick out of it. Like, I'm sure next time I'm home and I see Gino, I'm gonna be like, dude, freaking UFOs, age of disclosure. So she was laughing about it, but only because of that connection. Like, she had no personal interest in it.
Sure.
And then when I was like texted her and I was just like, I'm so scared, like I'm not okay after watching that. She just like laughed and I was like, no, I'm serious. And she just like liked the message. So that one, and then today I'm at work. I asked 3 different women at work, not just ones I work with. So someone I know from the Zen Center. So, she does meditation. Her parents are Buddhist, like pretty far out. She grew up in Santa Fe, whatever. And I was like, yeah, me and my buddy watched this UFO thing last night. It kind of freaked me out. And she just like gave me a weird look and walked away.
Right.
And then some girl I work with, and she's like this like punk chick with like pink hair and like bracelets with spikes in them and shit, and like probably smokes a ton of weed or something at least. And I was like, yeah, UFOs. And she was just like, ha ha ha. And just like, same thing, just like totally not into it. And then this girl from my psychology program, which everyone over there is like into weird shit. And I was like, yeah, UFOs, and like Marco Rubio, even the Secretary of State, and like knows about it and like gave fucking interviews like on the record about UFO sightings and non-human intelligence. And she was just like, cool. Yeah, that's great. And I was like, what the hell? And then finally I go up to this one dude, just the one man I asked today, and was just like, UFOs, and he was just like, oh yeah, and we had this long conversation, and he was all like, oh, the Anunnaki, hell yeah, dude, like 100%, like 3i Atlas, like that,
me twice, takes out an Abba Zaba freaking
dude.
Oh man.
What is this? Like,
same
why?
Experience. I told my baby mama, I was like, oh my God, you've heard, right? She's like, what are you talking about? And I was just like, UFOs, UAPs, you saw, right?
Yeah.
And she's just like, oh man, that's crazy. And
which makes no sense.
She's like, like, I was like ready to leave. It's just like, get ready. Like, your dad's fucking boring me already, And then like my mom, she let me press the issue because she's my mom, but also she essentially thought I was like schizophrenic by the end of the conversation, and like just didn't want to talk about it. It was just like, if I was anybody else, she would have totally shut that conversation down to begin with. And And she was even like, probably demons, the fuck knows. I don't know. Just like, stop talking about this. It's making me sick.
Right.
Whereas me and my dad are like frothing at the mouth.
All into it.
We're like leaning in, like whispering to each other about it, like looking around. He just texted me now. I'm listening to Dad Farah on freaking Joe Rogan, just alien emoji, you know? Yeah.
So into it.
Full interest immediately.
So what is this? Like,
I don't know. I mean, there's a few theories, women could be part of the group, they're aliens, so they don't want us to be doing research.
It's possible. It would explain a lot.
It would. Or we're just all freaking Neanderthal men, and it is actually silly. And
just like nerdy ass,
like flares
like
and
guys,
and even like senators like Marco Rubio and them, they're
D&D,
just nerds as fuck too, watching Star Wars when they were young.
Just like, oh man, I can't even imagine. It'd be so cool.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe it is just conspiracy, and like we're just all like bored, like
right. Like, what is that?
The aliens,
right?
Right. Yeah.
It's
I don't know.
Weird.
I don't know.
It's so weird. Is that like a? God, I'm gonna sound like such a fucking dumbass right now, but like. I don't know how to word this.
And not to say that there's not women out there that are completely interested in the subject.
There are, of course.
AOC
loves aliens, dude. She loves them.
She was highly concerned.
She was so concerned. But it just seems like, and was more sociological observation, I know more men who get like obsessive over random niche topics than women, to the point where I'm like, what do women talk about when they're hanging out together?
Right.
I think they talk about friends, social stuff,
Sure.
But then it's like we get together and we're just like, not just you and I, like men, and we're like obsessed with like UFOs or like this really niche topic, and then it's just like you nerd out on it, right. What is that?
I don't know. I think that it's like a tale as old as time. Like there's a lot of like, and this is generality. We're speaking of generalities.
I'm sure there's some really cool UFO women out there.
Yes, 100%.
Listening
also,
to the pod
I'm
right
single,
now.
Send us a message, like you got it. If you're out there.
If you're out there, the higher intelligence. But
this is why, like, I think a lot of like disagreement and misunderstanding happens between the sexes, because we're not so like concerned with the interdependent issues, like social, cultural,
right?
Sort of like, things we wear and shit like that.
Well, women have a much higher social intelligence, right. And even like I think there's something where
we're always like messing up or like doing an accent or being,
or like the male brain is able to keep track of, I think like forget the numbers, but say like 75 people. You can know 75 people. Then beyond that, you have no idea who you're talking to. Right, whereas like the female brain can actually hold up to like 125 or something like that. There's just like that social connectedness is just much richer,
Yeah. Yeah. And moments so many times in my relationships with everybody I've been in, this could just be common misunderstandings, but so many times where it's like, why did you do that? Like, and it's, what did I do?
Do what?
Like, what? I went like this, like, I don't know. Like, because that's like, I was thinking about like the global destruction of, or like Zin and Zad on the pod. What am I going to ask them?
Yeah.
There's sort of like this macro like focus of the conscious, and then the micro. And there's not one that's better than the other.
Yeah, it's not a right-wrong thing. This isn't a better worse thing. It's just like a different thing, and like a confusion thing.
And then our other funny theory was like, generationally, women and children have been the ones spared in war. And the men are the ones that are always killed. So we're like super freaked out. And the women are like, oh, well, they'll spare us. You guys are fucked. But
right. One way I heard it put once was that men need to have like a little domain of reality that they feel fully in control of and expert about,
Yeah.
Which makes sense to me, like, at least in my own experience. I mean, I've definitely gotten kind of OCD about, like art or something like that, where it's just like I like to feel like I'm the master of this little domain, and it makes me feel like I'm safe and in control.
And then you can like mansplain about the
exactly.
The pros.
Yeah. And now
like
I get to feel
Rubio,
important or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, what is that? I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. Or I don't know. I find though that could be a blend of the sexes. Like a lot of people that's just like the ego in general.
Yeah, just like wanting to be in control. Yeah, that's
totally.
there for sure.
And having like some sense of like power, intelligence, or something to give back to be like, well, I know about this.
Yeah.
I really don't know. It's just interesting that like, and some person could say, no, it's 50-50, freaking blue and pink aren't this and that. And it's like, yeah, that's true. Not all the time, but the majority of the time, like the people that are highly concerned are like, dudes.
Yeah.
The Joe Rogans.
Or even music or something like that. Like even like I know dudes who are like.
And there's a lot of guys that don't care about aliens too, as well.
No, it's not true.
I don't know.
Every guy cares about it.
Not true. Because I have like those couple of my homies that are like, the Jim Bobs. And they're just like, oh, fucking Rogan, they're conspiracy theorists. That shit's stupid,
Oh, interesting, yeah.
Or like sort of like, the Marius thinking where it's just like, they disproved it. Those are flares and stuff. The government doesn't lie.
Yeah.
Shit like that.
Yeah. But I will say though, it would at least become a point of conversation. Like I'm thinking like, let's say I sat down with, and I'm thinking of just like friends on the East Coast. And like, I got like a bunch of those dudes in a circle and just was like, okay, topic of the day, UFOs. Everyone's going to have a take on it. Everyone's going to have something to say. Even if they're like, that shit's so dumb, conspiracy, they're going to say their argument and there's going to be a debate and all of us are going to really get into it and it's going to be fun. Right. Whereas if I take a bunch of female friends or something and just like, I'm like, UFOs, the conversation go within like 5 minutes, the conversation's going to completely shift to like, there's going to be like, there's going to be a social connection sort of social, or like
nerdy dudes. I don't know.
Or just like, I dated this dude who was really into UFO. It's going to be more about the social connection than it is about the topic of UFOs, right?
That's pretty funny that men are like owning the UFO realm because we got like cars and like sports and like now UFOs, that's like part of the
But that's just part of like the manosphere. It's just it's like
at the man assembly.
Or like we all decided into music to like too, similar thing,
were
like
ours,
Right, like super into like metal and could talk about like the history of metal and this band did this and that band did that and like that type of guitar, whatever, just so topical versus like ask like I don't know, some chick like, hey, what's your association with metal? And then it will be like, oh, this time of my life and this is what I was experiencing and this is who I was spending my time with,
Right.
Not like, oh yeah, and there's like this type of guitar that like totally revolutionized the way,
Right. And even like, I don't know.
Again, very generally speaking.
Very generally speaking, of course. Yeah. But again, we could be wrong, I suppose. Just in
we could totally
in our own experience and
it's all anecdotal.
And the like, via the media, it seems like it's mainly guys that are like freaking out about this.
Yeah.
Even the like 3IA Atlas or whatever.
Right.
It was just so happened to be a guy like scientist who thinks it's an alien spacecraft. Like it wasn't
wishful thinking.
Barbara, like, schnapps. Right. It was like, it was this dude who was like, I actually think that this could be an alien spacecraft,
Right.
It's just funny how that's the case. I don't know. Just a weird social observation from the J to J bench.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't send us a bunch of emails.
First emails. Right.
Yeah. And of course, it's all dudes listening to this anyway. So.
Sure. That would be funny if we got smeared for our male alien take. But I don't know. I just think it's just something that's there. Like there's not a lot of guys that are into like Taylor Swift, but one of my Jim Bob friends loves Taylor Swift, it's
really?
like, and his son's like singing, I wear short skirts, you wear
right on. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. But if you were to take a poll,
I'm singing Torn by Natalie Imbruglia.
I guarantee you there's going to be more females that are Swifties
Oh, yeah.
than men,
of course.
you know?
Yeah.
And maybe if we were to take a poll on who believes in aliens and who doesn't, it'd probably be more like male based. I would just imagine it would.
Right.
Yeah. So all that being said,
Just more mystery.
One other story that freaked me out was that George Bush Sr. was made aware that a craft landed on an air base in like Wyoming or something like that.
Yeah.
Landed on the tarmac. There was two of them. One of them landed on the tarmac. A humanoid came out of the spacecraft and talked to the commanders at the base. He's informed of this. He finds out about it. And then he asks them, well, what did they say? What did they talk about? We can't disclose that to you. Stop asking us questions about it.
Yeah.
The fucking president, Bush Sr. This is documented in government This happened. This event happened.
They told the president that he's not on a need to know basis. Right. Which is like, what?
Yeah. And then his son had the like discretion thing come up, and he said he wasn't going to say anything either because Legacy Project is just too much, you know?
Yeah.
Just insane, you know? I don't know. Final thoughts on the alien doc.
Right. I guess there's so many, like if I was doing a PhD, right, on aliens, and there's so many. Which we should have. There's so many.
We basically did.
Pretty much. The ways that you can so many different inroads for studying this, right? Because you can look at aliens and religion would be a whole chapter in your dissertation, right? Yes. Aliens and ocean mammals could be a whole nother chapter. Aliens and socio-cultural differences between men and women should be a whole nother chapter.
Economics.
Aliens and economics. Aliens and none of which is actually getting to the reality of whether or not there truly is an extraterrestrial alien. And then you can get into that. You can get into the alien as meme, right? Because you have like, you know, think of the emoji of the little alien face. I mean, that image has been around. I mean, pretty much as long as pop culture has been a thing, right? So you can look at like the kind of like alien as pop culture meme. What is that? I heard one guy, this media theorist I like, Doug Rushkoff, who talks about how the alien as a symbol, pop cultural symbol, seems to ebb and flow. And then it tracks with times of social tumultuousness. So during like the 60s, aliens were having, you know, Twilight Zone, all this stuff. Aliens were coming up a lot. And then it kind of went away for a little while. And then I think he said then in the 90s it came back up, and then it came back up in the 2020s. And it's just been on this like 30-year cycle. Like there's something just like in terms of human culture that does something with that symbol, with that image. There's just so many different ways to ancient aliens, mythology and aliens. There's just so many different ways to look at it. And who knows, maybe that will eventually develop into like, no, we're actually talking with them and learning about their culture and integrating it into ours and all of that.
What a mindfuck it would be to be the aliens. Let's put it into our own shoes.
To be the
back to the chimps.
Yeah.
If we found out the chimps were discussing us via some weird chimp language.
Oh God, that'd be wild.
And they're like starting to gain awareness of our like consciousness.
Right.
And our like superiority and shit. That would be insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even like, you know, sort of deifying us at times and all this stuff, you know, and just like, man, these like humans are.
Yeah.
That would be so crazy. So for the aliens, for us to start gaining awareness of them.
Yeah.
What is happening in their heads? Zen, Zorg.
Right. Zen and Zorg. And what is the alien society itself like, right? Because obviously, all right, let's say the UFOs are coming and they have like, you know, they found a crashed UFO with 4 beings on it.
Right, right.
those aren't the only, they're not a population of 4.
Sure.
Right. So in their home galaxy, in their home world, are those guys who flew over here. And of course, there's some nerd ass guys who are like, oh, I'm going to go check out the humans. You know?
Right.
Who flew over here. That's like the 4 like high ranking scientists within their culture.
Sure. Or documentarians,
whoever they were, you know? And then there's, I'm going to assume, multiple planets with that species, because if they can travel to here, I'm sure they can, you know, populate more than one planet with a population of 21 billion of them.
Sure.
And then they're just like running their society, hanging out, making pods, whatever. So it's like not just, okay, there's the humanoid beings and the UFOs, but what world are they tethered to?
I like this.
That's
I like
fucking
this train
scary.
of thought.
That's even more scary to think about.
Right. Because sort of back to the Mitra thing. Now we're thinking about their society and their religions and their commerce and their economies and all this stuff, you know, their societal immoralities.
Yeah.
It could be on a whole nother level.
There could be a whole controversy, and that could be a whole discussion where it's like they're having conversations saying like, I don't think we should be interacting with the humans. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's ethical. And I think it's ultimately dangerous for all of us to be doing so. And then this other guy,
the Prime Directive, you know, can interact with societies that aren't ready to be.
And then this other guy saying like, well, no, if you look at human history and like we, you know, and they're having a whole, their talking heads on TV are talking about it. You know, it's like, this could be a whole fucking issue.
Right.
They're like sitting there freaking out about the human question.
Right.
Do we invite them into the Confederacy or not?
Right. Zilkwich, this is not a question of first contact or immorality. Look at how much we've learned about society and the primitive nature of man. Dude, fucking, that would be insane. Oh my God. Man. And then to say too that the sightings throughout history, it's not just one species.
I know.
And that would make sense too.
Yeah.
So not only are they, okay, go with me on this one.
Yeah.
So not only are they of 21 billion and they have their own society, there's other intelligent species who they've obviously visited, made contact with, have similar, if not better technology than them.
Yeah. So
that's their species visiting as well. Now, going back to the Galactic Council that we were just going over, fucking Zilkwich, freaking, now how many primitive planets that are not ready for this technological first contact are there of us in our classification?
Yeah.
So there's probably thousands, millions of human-like intelligent species out there on their own planets who think they're the center of their universe or the only intelligent species.
Yeah.
And then how many planets are there of sort of the lesser intelligence than us? Animal-based, you know, societies, plant and animal life only. So we're probably now thinking in this crazy fucking where there's not just one Zilk and Zorg species. There's an insurmountable number of levels of intelligence.
So weird.
Types of people, you know.
I feel like my brain is like shaking right now.
Freaking 11 on Stranger Things, nose bleeding in the corner, just like holding yourself. And to really sit down with the philosophy of that concept, that makes more sense than our current reality that we're the only intelligent species in the universe.
Yeah, because that'd be weird. If we were the only ones, that'd be really weird.
Right.
It'd be so strange.
Can we end on a positive note?
Yeah.
Take me home.
I don't know. You lost me. All right. Here's the positive note. So I remember, grew up on Long Island and hang out on the North Shore beaches, right?
Beautiful.
And then across the Long Island Sound, which was just, I think, like 12 miles of water. And then you're in Connecticut.
Nice.
Right. And I remember my sister and I must have been like 11 years old and she was like 7. And we were hanging out on the beach. You know, my mom's like suntanning or whatever, and me and her playing in the water. And I remember sitting next to her and like looking across the water and saying to her, imagine if there's a brother and sister on the other side of the water in Connecticut looking in our direction, wondering if there's a brother and sister on Long Island looking in their direction. You know, it's like,
sure.
you know, and like, and it was just that, you know, that it's like a lake, you know, it's like not even that much water, but just that idea of like, what's over there?
Right.
What's on the other side? And is there something also wondering and also curious and also kind of reaching out and saying, who am I and what is this?
Right.
You know? So aside from all of the UFOs, the military technology, the weaponry, the time warp speed and all that shit that's kind of mind boggling, and are they living under the ocean and all of that? What about that couple of alien guys on their planet, Zin and Zorg?
Right, Zorg to Zorg.
Zorg to Zorg. One spelled with 1 G and 2 with 2 Gs, and the other with 2 Gs. Zorg and Zorg, just chatting and just being like, what is it?
Right.
What is all this? I mean, we have our 3 planets and population of 21 billion, and these scientists are figuring out that there's now this, they're calling it human, and it's so interesting. What is all this? And they're just as curious as we are.
And think about the limitation of their advanced technology, which advanced technologies for us cause us limitations. We lose culture. We lose things within, right?
Right.
So in their advanced technology, let's kick it back to their space-time continuum bubble that the Harvard professor was saying. So within the craft, you know, they're uninhibited by space-time outside of the craft.
Yeah.
So not only do they not get affected physically by the forces of the speed of their craft,
temporally too. Yeah.
Wow, they could be in their craft for a few minutes, an hour, whatever, and it could be 100 years went by. You know, a few hundred years of our time, within our. So maybe when they travel in their reality, they live in a different space-time continuum than we do. And they can't slow down enough to observe us.
Yeah.
Honestly, for them, a few minutes went by and 1,000 years of human civilization went by.
Right.
And they couldn't really have observed it at all. Yeah. And just all of a sudden, things like in the time machine, you know, kicking it back to the last scholar, when he gets stuck in the time machine and shit's just evolving around him, he gets stuck in the rock, you know, and then he finally gets freed from the rock after thousands of years. And he's in this crazy, like, contemporary, you know, weird, like, cult world.
Right.
You know, so maybe that's also happening to them, where it's like, wow, these people are like progressing, but we're in this different space-time continuum that we can't slow down. In 5 minutes, this planet's going to be destroyed. Who knows, you know?
Yeah.
So absolutely, could there be Zorg to Zorg?
Yeah. And I think
wondering what we're doing, how we're evolving, how time's passing for us, you know, what would happen if they stopped their space-time and interacted with us, you know?
Right. Yeah. And I like to think, for that positive note, that it's just about the link and the connection. You know, I feel connected to Zorg right now. I feel connected to you having this conversation.
Absolutely.
I felt connected telling that story to my sister when we were kids. Oh, there's other kids on the other shore looking back at us, and she like laughed, you know, and it's like,
and Zorg to Zorg is probably like, you know, I remember when we first discovered AI, like we don't have that anymore. Like we have this new thing, like that's just like in the fourth dimension.
Yeah, they can like see what stage we're in development.
We've lost that where humans we used to have, you know, the horse and buggy thing, you know.
Yeah.
we've lost like traveling on a horse and that spiritual connection with like, time and the people that you're around and the animals around you, if they can travel and all this shit, they're probably horse and buggy. I remember when our planes could only go for 5,000 miles per hour and like the connection we had with the skies back then and our environments and all, know. So hopefully there is a shared curiosity.
Yeah.
And I think there is, I don't think that these beings are here for destruction purposes.
No, it would have been already. And I think a shared connection to the mystery of life,
right?
And that's where you and I find joy as philosophers, artists, writers, thinkers. Like that's the joy of it, that we actually don't know ultimately, and that we get to keep exploring. Right. And I like to think that they also don't know.
Sure.
That they too are just explorers.
Right.
And that exploring the mystery together.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Yeah. And that's why I feel connected
about
to
like
them.
how the possibilities of a successful connection of cultures.
Right.
Think about how much art and music has evolved over the years. Thousands of years that it's been around.
Incredible.
We go from like these 2-dimensional cave paintings to, Monet or the lily pads. Freaking what's his name? The French artist.
Monet.
To now we have like installations and different genres of music and all this stuff as we go forward.
Yeah.
Not only do our technological selves get better, but our human selves do.
Yeah.
Artwork, creativity, movies, storytelling, all this shit,
Yeah.
Who knows where we could be? And I like your point where our societies have already kind of integrated. We got the alien emoji. We have the movies. We got freaking ET.
They have human emojis over there.
It's on the most popular podcast in the world right now. Hopefully, Zorg and Zorg are talking about humans. And there's a human emoji that they all use. Just like, oh man, saw the new crazy documentary these guys got. Back in the day when fucking Rick Zorg's crashed in Roswell, New Mexico. Like
they're the explorers, dude. So are we.
Yeah. And maybe they're afraid of our dimensions, and we're afraid of theirs, but we're here to tell you on Jared to Jared. This is a safe space. There's no reason to be afraid, let's fucking integrate. Let's integrate.
Let's do it.
This is the age of disclosure. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna disclose with each other the truth.
We had our initial shock, but we're
don't burn us at the stake, and please don't send probes.
Yeah.
If you do, let's make it peaceful. Let's turn the mics on and let's have a conversation about it. First contact.
On behalf of the Jareds, thank you for listening. Follow, comment, and tell your friends. The Jays will be back next time. And always remember, you'll be taking the first steps into a new frontier. Your world is going to change, and you're going to be the one leading the way. See you in the stars.